Hey, what's up, guys? It's Carlos here. Let's talk, the voice of El Paso. Hey, so big win for the Raiders today in Baltimore. Woot woot. All right, so let's move on to Canelo's big fight versus Berlanga, or was it? But before we get there, let's talk about Raleigh's fight. I didn't get to watch it. I've just seen highlights, so I have nothing to say on that. Maybe in the near future I'll check it out. I don't know. Caleb Plant definitely showed us something. He showed us that he can make adjustments when things are going terribly wrong. Because let's be honest, the first probably 4 rounds ish, maybe 5 rounds, depending on who you talk to and how you watched it. McCumbee, he brought that energy with him, and he was like, "Look, man, I got a mullet and I got a state trooper mustache. I'm bringing all the drama." And I was like, "Okay, McCumbee, let's see what you're about." And he impressed me. But what impressed me more was how Plant decided he wasn't gonna fight at range. He said, "You know what? We're gonna fight in the telephone booth." He said, "Better yet, we're gonna fight in the pantry, right next to the canned goods, the cereal, and the cookies. We just gonna go to work in here." And that was a defining moment for him. The uppercuts. At first, I was like, okay, he's landing some uppercuts. He's landing some tight, hooks to the body. And then it was like, oh, this fight is changing. And then, Plant decided he wanted to give him a little showmanship, which I was all for that by that point, because I was like this, watching the fight. And he got the stoppage. At first, when I first watched that fight, I was like, yo, that stoppage is a little bit premature. But ultimately, I feel that the fight was going in his direction anyway. But then this morning, I rewatched the stoppage, and I have to agree with the ref on this one. I definitely think that McCumbee was defenseless at that moment. And that's kind of the thing, is you got to look at it from the referee's perspective. I know a lot of times as fans, we want to see the fighter, have that Rocky moment or that Creed moment where he wakes up and he brings the fight and all that. But the fact of the matter is that real boxing isn't like that. That's a movie, right? All right. And then we're going to bring it back a little bit. Danny Garcia. He's another one. He's a shell of who he used to be. And it makes me sad to see that, because he was such a great fighter in his 20s. But, that's life. That's what happens. You get old. And once you get old, that's it. Your body doesn't take to it. I definitely agree with his corner on stopping the fight. I think he really needs to look at whether his body can not just handle the punishment, not just be able to dish out the punishment, but does he have that spark? Does the infamous fast twitch muscles, are they still fast or not? Because from what I saw, no, nah. And I'm gonna screw this name up. Andres Landi. I apologize if I get the name wrong. But like I've said in previous videos, I'm terrible with pronouncing names. But anyhow, he did his job. He just didn't look like he used to. He definitely looks like he's entering his 40s. I'm 40. And I don't move the same way I did when I was in my 20s. It's just what happens, right? We get old, we get slow. There's nothing we can do about it. So definitely, that was a low point in the night. And then we get to Canelo and Berlanga. Canelo definitely shows age is starting to catch up with him as well. He's smart. He still got the mind for it, and he's still got the ability to dish it out. But his power, that one knockout, that one punch knockout power he used to have, I just don't see it no more. I don't see it. Um, he's still very smart. He knows how to do his thing. He's still crafty. Um, but things like targeting guys' arms when they're starting to kind of take charge of the fight, yeah, it's legal, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. But I do feel those are a lot of little things that we're gonna start to see the Canelo of today. I definitely think that he's not just gonna be putting a whooping on everybody the way he did. It's just it's another case where man's getting old. He's been in the game since he was 15. I mean, so what do we expect? Well, he's starting to slow down. His punch selection is still there. I think his IQ is still there. His ability to cut off the ring, his defensive head movement was still good. He by no means did he not control that fight. Although I will say there was a couple of shots that they took that I was like, I don't know how many more of those you can take. So, but he did what he had to do. And he had that third round knockdown. That thing was clean, which just shows you that he is still dangerous. He's just dangerous differently because he's getting older. Me, I try to take the good with the bad. I'm not always going to be the guy that's like other creators that's going to put a bias on it. I try not to do that, regardless of how I personally feel. I actually had Berlanga losing at the first half of the match. And he went the distance. So that proves a lot about Berlanga too. He got dropped and he was hot after he got dropped, but he was extremely careful, which that tells me a lot about him too, because that means, he knew he got dropped and he was like, okay, I got to keep that backhand up. I gotta stay talking on the phone, because I catch another one like that, I may not wake up. Some guys get around 8, 9, 10, 11, and they throw caution to the wind and they go back to who they are. And typically he's one of those guys that when he starts throwing, he opens up. And that's how you get caught. And he did. But you know what? He stayed cognizant afterwards. Good job on his team. He definitely showed he had some power, because he did snap Canelo's head back a few times. He did catch Canelo. But, they say that Canelo's got a chin and that he brings it to work. He definitely brought it to work, because, hey, he caught that shot I guess he thought the round was over when it was his 10-second bell. And he started to walk away, and I was like, what the hell? And then he got caught, and he looked at Berlanga like, you ain't do shit to me. Now, granted, I don't think Berlanga put much on it, but still, point remains, right? Overall, I really liked the fights. I thought it was an exciting night. I definitely think Canelo's much more choosier about who he's going to take on in these next few years. I give him another year, 2. I think if he decides to go longer than that, he's going to end with at least 2 or 3 more losses, depending on how many more fights he takes, right? Because the fact of the matter is that he is getting old and he's starting to slow down. And it showed. So, do I think we're going to get a Benavidez fight? As much as I'd love to see that fight, I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't think it's going to happen because Canelo wants to go out the way his record is now. And I don't blame him. Well, I do blame him. Let me take that back. Yes, I do. Because we would all love to see that fight. Anybody that doesn't want to see that fight is that's crazy talk, right? But I understand why he hasn't taken the fight yet. I think it's more of a business thing than a boxing situation. But, I mean, you never know. Maybe the next fight will be Benavidez. Maybe Benavidez does show us he is that guy that so many of you believe to be. He seem to believe that he is. I don't think he's that guy. I think he's just so used to towering over guys and punching on smaller dudes that he's just that. But you can say that about 80% of professional boxers these days. So, next episode, we'll be talking about Shakur Stevenson, and the infamous broken hand. So I think there's more to unpack there than what we're actually leading on. I think that the broken hand explains a lot of things, but we'll talk about that in the next episode. So as always, this is Carlos at Let's Talk, the voice of El Paso. Talk to me and I'll talk back. Peace.